Welcome to Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. I'm your host, Jason Bland, and tonight we have Tracee Sioux on. She is a best-selling author, coach, creator of The Year of Yes, and host of The Year of Yes radio at tunetoyourradio.com. Her purpose is to free others to say yes to their own soul's purpose. Her work has been featured in the New York Times Magazine, Forbes.com, and Today.com. Finding herself divorced after 12 years of marriage, Sioux found herself making $600 a month, taking peace, writing work, feeding her kids from the food bank, and yet strangely peaceful deep within her soul. The experience led her to embark on her commitment to say yes to her soul's purpose for the 1 year. By the end of that year, Sioux has built a sustainable business, brought her income to 6 figures, lost 3 pant sizes, healed 40 years of pain and regret, and discovered what it meant to create the intentional autonomous life in her 40s. Prior to the Year of Yes, Sioux led the Girls' Revolution to empower girls and their parents and caregivers in the face of today's marketing and media messaging. She's the author of Love Distortion, Bell, Battered, Codependent, and Other Love Stories. Sioux has worked as a journalist, blogger, and consultant for 17 years. She won the Utah State Newspaper Association's Best Photograph Award and the Utah State Board of Association Award for Exceptional Journalism. She's known for her spiritual travel column Soul Trek and in Bella Spark magazine. She's featured as an SAS, I can't even talk right now, pundit, mom, mothers of intention. How women in social media are revolutionizing politics in America. She has written for the Boardside, Get Born magazine, and Blog Fabulous. This is probably the longest bio I've ever written. It's really good. Sioux holds a bachelor's degree from the University of Utah in creative writing and political science. Sioux lives with her 2 children in Colorado. We're going to talk to her tonight. She's a spiritual and life coach. We'll be with you guys in just 1 second. Of course, we'll have the World Wide Web of Weird to start it all off. All right, guys, welcome to another night of Paranormal Soup. Like I said, our guest tonight, Tracee Sioux, a spiritual life and business coach. We're going to have her on tonight. And, of course, this is a great opportunity for our open lines tonight. We will have open lines probably about the 11 o'clock hour if you want to call in and ask Tracee questions. The Skype call-in line, I don't know if sometimes it doesn't show up right on the screen, is the Skype ID, oojblandoo. Yeah, send me a contact request on there. I accept it. You can call right into the show and ask. Tracee will hear you. You can ask her questions. You got looking for advice. This is probably a person to ask for it. All right. Of course, what I love to do every Sunday night is a World Wide Web of Weird. And tonight is no different. I cannot wait to do this World Wide Web of Weird. We got some strangeness going on. All right. Let's go ahead and get that rolling. Tonight on the World Wide Web of Weird, we're going to start off with some ghost stuff. This one, probably the first one I think a lot of people have seen. I even had somebody who's not even interested in paranormal bring this up at my work today and said, oh my God, did you see that spirit leaving that lady's body in China? Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people have seen it, so I wanted to talk a little bit about it, and I got the article up from Coast to Coast AM. All right, so an unnerving piece of security camera footage from a Chinese hospital appears to show a woman's soul leaving her body after she passed away. The chilling video seems rather mundane at first, showing a nondescript hospital bed sitting in a room. All right, and there's supposedly a body on it. So I'm going to play this here. However, around 13 seconds into the clip, an eerie, translucent figure appears to sit up from within the woman on the bed. The anomaly then rises from the gurney before dissipating into the darkness of the room. Some viewers believe that the remarkable footage shows the woman's soul departing from her body. Let me mute that there. Given the scant amount of information concerning where and when this scene was filmed, it's likely that the true answer as to the nature will remain unsolved, which is like so many YouTube videos. I am suspect on this a little bit. Well, a lot, I should say. Anything that comes like this, they can't give me a backstory or where this was, what hospital. I need information that, to get credibility. Anything could be faked, and obviously this definitely could be a fake. I would want to know more of the story. It's spooky looking, but to me, it's easily faked. So it's interesting, and it's gone completely viral, but I think the jury's going to be out on that one forever. All right, we got another one from, this one's from Japan this time, and I also got this article off the Coast to Coast AM site. This one's going to be a ghost following a guy into a taxi. Now, I've talked about this before. Let me rewind this a little bit. On the World Wide Web of Weird, about the amount of ghost stories coming out of Japan after the tsunami and earthquake, everything that happened there, that so many people died, that their ghosts are getting into the cabs, because there's a lot of public transportation. A lot of people take cabs in Japan, and these cab drivers are all talking about ghosts that get in the cars. There's even some of these stories from New York, from after 9/11. So that's what this is probably coming from. If it's fake, it'd be a definite motive to fake it because of these stories, but it's attached. What we got here, the article is, a chilling piece of security camera footage from Japan appears to show a ghost following a man as she gets inside a taxi cab. In the video, the spirit seems to suddenly emerge behind the passenger when he approaches the video. As he walks towards the cab and enters the vehicle, the man never acknowledges the entity, suggesting that perhaps he could not see the ghost. Let me go ahead and start playing this. Whether the cab driver or the passenger ever realized they had a third party in the vehicle remains a mystery, as the taxi simply drives away without incident. Some media outlets have connected the video to tales of taxi drivers reportedly picking up on passengers who turned out to be ghosts of people that died in 2011 tsunami that devastated Japan. So I love those stories. Like I said, I covered that once in the World Wide Web of Weird before, that these ghosts were appearing in people's taxis. Maybe this could be legit. I don't know. I think it show it one more time. Yeah. Again, definitely could fake. And why does every ghost from Japan look like something out of the grunge? Every ghost video I ever see out of Japan looks like something out of the grunge. There's the long hair, the drooped down head. It's like they just like if it's going to be a ghost, that's what it's going to look like if it's coming out of Japan.
Well, but that's their mythology. That's the mythos of how the ghosts look there. So
yeah, so that totally that makes it suspect to me that it looks like, again, another typical grunge girl from.
Well, when it went through the first time, to my brain, I thought it was video tearing, but now I see exactly what you're saying. It's the long black hair hanging down the front and the slumped shoulders, and
yeah, it's totally like the girl that comes out of your TV in The Ring, or
yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So it makes it suspect to me. And the next one, we got some more shenanigans. This time on the UFO front here. I've talked about UFO. Always, if you see a video and they don't ever show you the exit of the UFO, be suspect. And if you do see the exit, you're probably going to be disappointed. It's always the exit. I'm going to pause it here and read this article first. This mind-blowing video footage is alleged to show a huge UFO which hovered over Chinese city for 10 hours. The video, alleging to be a genuine close-up recording of the mystery craft seen by hundreds of people over Shanghai on July 3rd, has been uploaded to YouTube. Express.co.uk reported earlier this month how conspiracy theorists went into overdrive fearing Earth was about to be invaded by aliens, or even the military leaders were experimenting with alien spacecraft technology. Translated reports said some of the witnesses described the UFO as being suspended in the sky over Shanghai, China, with some claiming to have seen it for a whole 10 hours, mostly at night. In the new footage, where genuine it would be the most historic, clear, detailed video capture of UFO ever recorded. But before alien chasers start doing somersaults, as has been pointed out on the video, was produced and uploaded by the YouTube channel Section 51.2, which I've showed videos. Yep, you know it. Section 51.2 has been called out by a string of UFO hoaxbusters for creating footage using clever CGI animation, meaning its videos are considered as fakes. The channel also blocks comments on many of its videos, meaning opponents struggle to vent their fury at the deceit. Genuine UFO investigators loathe hoax videos and sightings because of the damage they say it does to the credibility of proper research. And to me, you'll just see, this is when I see a video and the ship exits this way or does something like this, I'm like, yep, CGI. I was sure of CGI before that, but the exit is always the giveaway. They never can nail the exit down, but here it is. This one, I've seen this post up, so this reason I'm doing it is because it was a total viral video there for a while. I'll mute there's people saying something to matter, but it has nothing to do with UFOs. Total dissolve.
What is that?
All right, this next one is a little bit more credible to me. This one is you can hear the people talking. About that last one too. It's a lot of these fake videos are always in some other country where people are talking, but they're always speaking another language, so you don't know what they say. And we had that one guy on. God, I can't think of his name, and he was like, "They're not even talking about the UFO that was in Mexico." And he's like, "They're not even talking about the UFO." One of my guests, could speak Spanish.
Yeah, people were asking for batteries for the phone.
Yeah, that's what there was. But they make it look like you're talking about the UFO up in the sky. It's so common now. All right, so this one also comes from the express.co.uk website. Second glowing UFO with 3 rear lights seen as a new evidence emerges. A strange UFO with 3 rear lights has been recorded for the second time this month. Paranormal investigators are looking at the footage of the flying object taking over Route 29 North, Charlottesville, Virginia, USA on Sunday. Video footage of the object with 3 rear lights and flashing red lights in the middle of them has been handed to the Mutual UFO Network for investigation. In a brief report, MUFON, the witness, who has not been named, wrote, UFO triangles seen by myself and my mother around 8:55 p.m. July 24th over 29 North near Kroger and Kmart in Charlottesville. A digital video was taken by me, UFO first stationary, then moved to a northeast straight line path and was gone, the witness said. In a brief video footage of the sighting sent to MUFON, which is the world's largest UFO investigation group, people are heard discussing whether it could be a drone, as a man says, "What is that?" And that sadly is kind of the age we're in, is that are these drones or not? Someone else interjects that it looks like a drone, but he carries on saying, no, seriously, what is it? In the second case of a UFO with 3 rear lights sent to MUFON this month, last week, Express.co.uk reported on a sighting made by a couple and their son earlier this month. They initially thought it might have been a military drone, but said they dismissed that theory when it suddenly spun and disappeared. Like I said, it's always the exit. I think I showed the other one they're talking about before on a World Wide Web of Weird too. They had 3 lights, but here it is.
Is it? It's going over us real fast. Is it? What is it? Looks like a drone. It's round looking. What is it? It don't look like no damn airplane. I just looked at it. What do you think it is? No, seriously, what is it? It's going over us. It went that way. I can't get over that way. I can't see. Well, put your camera down.
I have to pinch.
All right, next up, I haven't had much on the crypto front. This doesn't really go into the crypto front. It's more the alien front. But this is a shocking claim. Mystery skulls found in Antarctica could be from aliens. It was a mind-blowing announcement that not only had remains of historic inhabitants of Antarctica been found, but at the same time they could be from aliens. So it must be aliens, as I would say on the History Channel. The story went viral online, claiming that the 3 ancient skulls were unearthed by a team of archaeologists. It was seen as mind-blowing, not only because it was thought at the time Antarctica was the first reached by humans in 1820, hundreds of years after the suspected age of the skulls, but also because they were elongated with giant craniums, leading some commenters to claim they could have been the remains of aliens who visited Earth. The reports claim that an archaeologist called Damian Waters and his team uncovered the skull in the region of Antarctica called La Piel. They were hailed initially as the first human remains uncovered from Antarctica before they changed to the first remains of aliens found on Earth now. Mr. Waters, allegedly an archaeologist from Smithsonian Institute of New York, I love that, allegedly, probably not, reportedly said after alleged discovery in 2014, "We just can't believe it. We didn't just find human remains on Antarctica. We found elongated skulls. I have to pinch myself every time I wake up. I just can't believe it. It will redefine our view of mankind's history as a whole." Elongated skulls have been found in Peru, Egypt, and other areas of ancient historical past, while many conspiracy theorists point to them as alien visitations of Earth over the centuries. They have been explained away as bizarre practice by some ancient civilizations to extend the length of their skull through manipulation from an early age. Conspiracy theory websites reported at the time about the Antarctica skulls. It shows there was contact thousands of years ago between civilizations in Africa, South America, and Antarctica. These elongated skulls are much, much larger than a normal skull would be. Purposeful cranial deformation can change the shape of the skull, but cannot increase the volume of the skull. In addition, these skulls have quite a few other important physical characteristics that greatly set them apart from the normal human skulls. I'm not going to read the rest of their article. This is another one from express.co.uk.
Myself every time I wake up.
That voice, right?
I just can't believe it. This will redefine our view of mankind. Excitedly explains M. Waters. Elongated skulls have been found in Peru and in Egypt, proving past civilizations made contact long before history books want to acknowledge. But this discovery is plain incredible. It shows there was contact thousands of years ago between civilizations in Africa, South America, and Antarctica.
All right, one more thing on the World Wide Web of Weird, and this isn't paranormal, but it would have felt like it was paranormal if this happened to your house. After noticing a series of strange occurrences around his home, a Seattle area man was stunned to discover that someone has been living in his attic. Davis Walleman was initially nonchalant about the odd events, such as lights being left on when they should be off and a dislodged window screen in his bathroom. However, when he heard a disturbance in the attic above his bedroom one morning, Walleman's interest peaked considerably, and he began looking around to see what was causing it. Much to his surprise, he eventually found the door to his office unexplainably locked, leading to an unforgettable exchange. And I'm going to go ahead and play the news report on this. As a paranormal investigator, I'm like, oh my God, there's some kind of ghost going on. But you never know. It could actually be somebody squatting in your attic. That's more scary to me than a ghost?
Yeah, that's a lot creepier.
Lot creepier. I'd take a ghost any day. Here we go.
When Davis Wallman got to his Green Lake home, he noticed some lights on.
I don't immediately freak out, but I'm like, this is not ordinary.
He didn't think too much of it until a strange noise startled him.
I am kind of jolted out of bed. I hear rummaging around up above me, which I know is the attic. And so I'm like, that's kind of weird.
Davis noticed a light was on in this office, so he knocked on the door, but no response. He knocked again, then heard a woman's voice.
Jimmy? Is that you, Jimmy? Listen, why are you in my house?
Davis immediately called 911, then a woman, a complete stranger, opened the door and was face to face with him.
I'm like, who the heck are you? Why are you in my house? And she keeps kind of going, this is my house. I live here. I've been here for 3 days. Jimmy said I could live here. Jimmy said I could stay here.
Davis tried to keep the woman inside the house until police arrived, but she got away. He's puzzled as to how the woman even got in. Nothing appeared stolen, just a few things out of place. His fire escape ladder was hanging from the deck, and a screen from the bathroom window was in the tub.
It's just weird, you know.
Davis says the woman living in the attic had dark hair and wore gym pants with a black jacket and white hood. She also had a white knit cap and carried a backpack. Meanwhile, the family is now changing the locks and taking extra precautions. For Davis, it's hard to believe someone was staying here without anyone noticing.
To come into a...
And that's it for the World Wide Web of Weird. And just remember, every Sunday night, it's going to be at the beginning of every episode, except for the nights we have ITC Collective Night. Then I have a kind of a different beginning segment, but that's the end of the World Wide Web of Weird.
Yay!
Hey, clapping last night.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, well, thank you for joining us tonight, Tracee. Stuttering.
Thank you.
I don't know why. I butchered your name last week. I'm sorry when I was saying at the end of the episode. It's Tracee Sioux. How I missed that, I don't know.
It's Tracee Sioux. Yes.
So Tracee, tell us a little bit about yourself. Now I read the bio you had, but give us kind of your take on who you are and what you do.
I am a spiritual business and life coach. So I help people start businesses that they make decisions based from their soul's purpose. I help them listen to their soul, make their life better, work-life balance, time, learn to manipulate time so that it serves them instead of attacks them and eats their life. I help people become happier, more joyful. I'm getting a lot of echo, are you?
Oh, hold on. I know what it is. Sorry. Is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay. You're good.
There goes the universe.
Yeah, it's tearing a hole in the universe. I apologize. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. So I'm a spiritual business and life coach. I write books. I am a seeker, spiritual seeker. So I am constantly expanding my ideas and writing books about them and getting a lot of really interesting information from my clients about their own experiences. I tend to work with people who I've never before called them paranormal experiences, but feel a deep, deep, deep calling. The language I usually use is from their soul or God. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of intriguing. I'm excited to see where this goes.
Well, paranormal is just one term for it. Spiritual experience, I think for some people, for me, my early experiences was stuff personally, spiritually. You know, I wouldn't call it paranormal, I call it spiritual. You know, it's
Right.
something, you know, deep, like you said, something from your soul. Now the book you wrote
Yes,
is,
I've written several.
you've written several. Sorry, I know. But the main one I see a lot of people comment about and talking about is saying yes to your soul's purpose. Is that the title of the book, or I got it wrong?
The title is The Year of Yes.
Year
How
of
to
Yes,
say
sorry.
yes. What if you said yes to your soul's purpose for 1 year? To everything your soul told you to do.
I don't know, man, if that would be a good thing. Explain to us, like, how do you come to that thought? Like, what's the idea behind that? How has that affected you and the people who have read your book?
So what happened for me was I had gotten a divorce, and I was standing washing dishes by hand, and I suddenly felt this enormous amount of peace, just this deep inner calm. And I was in trouble. I mean, I was financially in trouble, responsible for kids, suddenly the sole provider of my household, and I was terrified out of my mind. But at the same time, I felt this incredible peace, and I realized that this voice that was inside me had stopped saying the same thing over and over. And what she had been saying is, I want a divorce, 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 right? And I had heard this for so long that I hadn't even noticed how much it was happening. So when I finally got the divorce and I realized, oh, my soul is always going to get what she wants, and when she does get what she wants, I'm going to experience this fantastic peace. So what if, now that I don't have to answer to someone else, what if I said yes to everything she told me to do, no matter what? Without questioning, without knowing the outcome, without asking for justification or reason, just said yes to that inner voice that everyone on the planet has. Everyone has it. I truly believe that. Some stronger than others, but everyone has it. What if I said yes to it? And so I did. I made a commitment that I would say yes for 1 whole year, January through December 2013. And I did that, and it was an incredible experience, and now that's what I teach people to do. I teach people how to listen to that voice and then say yes, even when it's terrifying, even when you don't know what's going to happen, even when there's a huge capacity for failure, even if you just can't conceive of how whatever you're thinking wants to happen happens, you can't conceive of it, you say yes to it, and it will either guide you there or somewhere better.
I couldn't do that. The credit card bills would annihilate me.
Well, but that's the thing, is I did pay all my bills. I did. That year, I paid all of my bills.
See, for me, my voice would be like, I think that voice always is the one that's like, you can't buy that. You can't do that.
That's your ego's voice. No, that's your ego's voice, or sometimes you might call it the mind's voice.
Okay.
That's the voice that is trying to keep you stuck in this primordial cave, and its purpose is to keep you safe. So it's not an evil voice, right? It wants to keep you eaten from tigers,
It's
and
like
it wants. Yeah, well, I mean, it's just a stupid voice. It's stupid, but it's stupid enough to keep you from getting eaten or run over by a car, right?
Right.
So it equates spending money on a website or spending money on a coach with the equivalent of being eaten by a tiger. And it's not the equivalent, but that voice doesn't know that, right? And so your soul knows that. And your soul says, no, this is not the equivalent of being eaten by a tiger. This is actually going to work out for you, because I believe your soul has a much larger, more expansive picture of your life, of your world, of events, of the future even, than your ego does. But the ego is pretty powerful in a lot of us.
Oh yeah, and you know, for me it's and I think my younger self didn't listen to that voice so much. I would do like just whatever, you know. It's when I became a parent, especially that like.
That's when the rash judgment gets smashed into oblivion.
Right, exactly. Now he calls it rash judgment, but do you think what you're answering when you hear this voice in your head that you could consider your soul's voice? Do you think it can be rash?
No, I don't think the soul's voice is rash. I think the soul's voice is guiding you to what will make you happy. And that includes your children, right? So your soul's voice is never going to harm you. It is never going to make you do something that will harm your children. It is never going to make you do something that will bankrupt you. It wants the best for you, but it sees more than you do, right?
Jason, maybe it's just my soul has a rash. That's possible.
It's your ego that has a rash.
Absolutely.
I can see that definitely, because I grew up in a household of with a mom who's a Buddhist, so a lot of this relates back to the stuff I've learned from that. So I totally get what you're saying, but I made these points, funnily, but because I know where it kind of goes between the two different, the voices in your head. I do have this paranoid worry voice in my head, and it sounds a lot like my mother when I was a kid. And she, even in being a Buddhist, I don't think let go of it.
I call them outside voices. So your ego is one of the outside voices, but it is made up of culture, religion, media, your mother, your children. Like, it is just made up of all the voices that are not your soul's voice, right? So it's really a challenge. The biggest challenge is to tune in to the piece of you that knows, right? And it's usually the still small voice is what they call it in a lot of cultures, and in the Bible. They call it the still small voice, right? You have to get really quiet to hear it. And, my kids are chattering on the outside, and my mother's voice is in my head. And, those things are there, culture, media. I've had to filter media like crazy because I just cannot handle it and get focused here. But, yes, if you think that your mother's not affecting your choices, you're crazy. Of course it is, right? But I think that's part of your ego's voice. Mothers are, and I am a mother, right, of 2 children. Mothers are great for giving you a core, right? Giving you a core essential self, right? And if it's a good mom, she wants you to listen to that inner voice. She wants you to develop that. She wants you to really, she doesn't want you to not clean the house when when she tells you to clean the house, but she wants you to have like this deep understanding of what's right and what's wrong and what's good and what's bad and how to be in the world, right? So
that's exactly, if my mom was sitting here, she'd go, exactly.
Well, it's like the hardest struggle in the universe, nature versus nurture there.
Yeah. No, my mom definitely, out of anybody, instilled in me what I believe now is what makes me a good person,
Yeah, of course. And that's a good mom if she does that. Yeah. It's a good mom if she can give you, I do some work with parents and parenting. And I always feel like I always tell my clients, you need to teach them who to be, not what to do, right? If they have this inner core, like if you teach your children, okay, you have this inside voice, and it's going to tell you what to do and where to go. And if you sense the weird energy, if you sense the negativity around you as an energy experience, listen to that, right? Listen to that. And that is the best advice I can give you, because I'm not going to be there telling you what to do all the time.
Yeah, no, it's exactly right. Because, I learned some things from my mom's own personal stories. She would tell me as a kid things, happened to her. And, I think when you're talking about that, how you would tell your children, it's kind of how my mom would tell me. And not knowing that what but in a way getting to that, it's like, trust your gut.
Yeah, trust your gut.
And I've run into that. I've run into that so many times in my life where I felt negativity from a person, even though they're smiling at me and they're nice as can be, but I felt something that was just not right. And and boy, if I didn't listen to that feeling, I would pay for it.
Oh yeah. Well, children are extremely perceptive of energy. So if you don't screw it up, like if you don't screw that piece up, it's integral to them. It's already there, right? If you just say, yes, that's legit, that's real, you are feeling that, then they can believe it, and they develop a faith in it, and they develop a trust. Oh, here's the choices I should make based on my own internal compass that says something's not right about this person, or their agenda is not what I think it is. Some parents screw it up, though. They tell their kids they're not sensing what they're sensing. And that's when you run into trouble. If you just, acknowledge and validate that your kids are feeling something weird and just accept that and go with it and tell them to trust it, they're going to be all right.
I use my kid is a huge Star Wars fan.
And
I use
the Force.
The Force as an analogy with my son all the time.
It's good.
You know, he gets to go to Bible school, okay? And I'm totally for that. But me being an agnostic but a spiritual person, I'm not an atheist. You know, I believe in a higher force. You know, you could say the Force. I tell people I might as well tell people I'm a Jedi or a Jedi religion. But I teach my son about kind of when you talk about this stuff. I do want to ingrain in my son to listen to that voice. I've had experiences. I want to get your thought on this. When you talk about that inner voice you hear, I've had some weird experiences with that inner voice. One of them being, my wife took me over to a friend's house who just started dating a guy, okay? And they would do this thing, like, she's just one of the few times she's done this, but she'll take me to a house. She knows it's haunted. Somebody's already told her it is. They've had experiences, but she won't tell me. She won't tell me. She'll just take me over there and see if I go and say something. And this time we go over there, and we walked into the door, and I turn her and go, man, there's something here. I'm getting that feeling. She goes, oh, he knows, like that. You know, that's that inner voice. But what that inner voice told me at one point was really weird, okay? I was sitting at a table, and the owner had found these books left in the house. They're photos. And they were all of this older guy, even his funeral of him in the casket. But no names on there or anything. He knew who the owners were, and he'd asked them, do you want these back? They look like they're your father's photos, and they just never called them back. You'd think they'd want their father's photos. Well, there's a tie into some alcoholism, I think. I was a feeling. Whenever I was over at my friend's house, I always wanted to drink. You ask my wife, I am not a drinker. I don't drink very often. I don't really care for it. But I would always want to have a drink when I go over there. So that was one clue. But that was the first time I was ever there, and I wanted to drink, and it was weird. He hands me the photo. I'm holding it, looking at this guy in the coffin. Like I said, there's no names or anything. And it's out of my head. I'm not going to say his name. I say his name. I say his first name first. I'll just say his first name. I go, his name's William, but everybody calls him Bill. And he goes, that's the name of the guy in the picture, you know. And he's like, I haven't even told my girlfriend that yet, because he found out who it was. And he goes, he leaves the room. They're like, my wife and her girlfriend are like, can you get the last name? I'm like, I don't know why I said the first. It was that inner voice, and I just reacted on it. So I started trying to hone into it. And it's like you said, that still inner voice. And I could hear it saying the name, the syllables of the name, and I just said it. And he comes walking back in, and they go, what's his last name? And he says it. And they're like, oh, my God, that's the name. That's the last name he just said. And he's like, I've not told anybody this yet. And just first time I've ever met him. So he was freaked out. It was that small inner voice. I was freaked out by it, because I was just reacting to what was in there, and I got really quiet. And I used to meditate. I used to meditate quite a bit. I was very interested in it from the mom being a Buddhist and being in that, trying to listen to that inner quiet voice. And boy, is that a struggle when you try to do it. You know what I'm saying? Really try to do it. But I had heard that, and it kind of freaked me out a little bit. Have you had, doing this, any experiences like that that you felt were above normal from listening to that voice?
Yeah. A lot of times I have that experience. When I am with clients, I feel like I'm just getting energy coming to me and going out to them that is, I understand what they're thinking, what they're feeling, and what they need, right? So like it's just flowing through me. Mm-hmm. Well, and more like a channel, because an empath receives their feelings, which I do. I'm empathic, right? I can feel what they're feeling, but this is something different. This is more like I go into the session and I don't know what they're going to say. I don't know what their issue is necessarily, but right before the session I start opening up to it, and I will get information, right? They're struggling with this, they're struggling with that. They need this, they need that. So it may be a meditation, it may be a book, it may be a practice. Whatever it is that they need, I'm receiving it and delivering it. It's not coming from me, right? So that's one of my gifts that I don't think is normal. I'll receive information that I can deliver to them that maybe they don't even know about themselves yet.
Yeah, no, it's so, you're not your normal life coach or business coach with that kind of ability.
No, no, I definitely would say I'm an empath. I'm an intuitive. I've channeled entire books. I wrote a book called Soul versus Ego Smackdown, How to Say Yes to Your Soul and Tell Your Ego to Suck It, in 2 days. 30,000 words in 2 working days, not even full days.
You had to be
And
channeling something. You had to be channeling something. Because
I mean, it just shoo, and out my fingers, and I was typing as fast as I could type, and on the screen, I'm reading it as I'm typing it, and I'm going, oh, I didn't know it worked like that. Like, these were not my thoughts. They were not my information that I had formulated. It was coming through me, which a lot of creatives experience.
Yeah.
A lot of creative people, painters, poets, artists, musicians, movie makers, right? What the gift of the artist is to allow the genius to come through them and then just put it out there without fear, right? That's the gift of the artist. You just accept it and you say, okay, this wants to be born. It's coming through me. It is not me, right? I mean, it is not me. Like, if you really get into flow, if you really get into the zone, you know it's not you. But it feels freaking awesome when it's coming through you, right?
Yeah. I know I know exactly what you're talking about. So.
Yeah, it feels amazing. Yeah, so I have that kind of experience pretty frequently, especially when writing and coaching people. But even in just average conversation, I'll be like, oh, ding. There you go.
I'm a musician, or I was a musician, and having 2 kids have kind of dwindled that opportunity lately to get that quiet time. Because what I need, I've told my wife this, I'm like, I haven't written a song in years. I used to write a ton. What I need is that quiet time where there's nobody around, and I just get in touch with that person. And I would write songs in 2 minutes. It would just flow out of me, just like bam, bam, bam. I don't know where it came from. The words, the melody, just all would come out. And I've tried doing it now with kids running around, one kid running around, one's trying to crawl, and just living in a busy household. And it's hard to get to that quiet space, but I know that feeling. Like, when you get it, when you do it, it's like bam, it's a rush, it's a high. Writing too, I've never been able to finish a novel. You know why? Because I get, like you do, like bam, it's just coming out of me, but then something happens. I don't get those 2 days or 3 days in a row to just not quit. And I know that's why I can't finish a really good novel. I finish some later on, and I just won't release it because I don't like it, because I didn't have that initial edge that I had when I was writing. Stephen King, one of my favorite authors, his book on writing says that too. He says that straight out. Yeah. If you're gonna write, don't stop. Just you got to do it at every minute you got it while it's fresh in your head, and don't care about anything else. Just get it all out there as fast as you can. And one of these, if I ever get back into writing, I have to take that approach, because I feel you. It's something you're channeling, from some other source. Because there's things I would write in songs, I swear, that were pathetic to my life later, and I had no intention of that. Not thinking about my life when I wrote the song. I would just literally make up the words as the song would go, and it would make sense to people. And then later on, I would think about the lyrics I wrote. I'd be like, wow, that is did have meaning. I didn't understand at the time.
Yeah. White space is what you're talking about, and creativity thrives in white space. And if you're not going to allow yourself to have that, you're not going to be able to channel it, right? So when I wrote that book, I saw an email that said writers conference in November for 2 days, 3 days, 2 days, something like that. And I was like, okay, I haven't written all year. It's November. I'm going to do it, right? So I pay the money and I leave. And like, before I start to go, 2-3 months before, I'm starting to get ideas for the book. And I'm telling my soul, my creative geniuses, great, that's a wonderful idea, but I've got 2 kids. I've got a business. I've got a schedule. Right. I cannot do that right now. So you need to just, stock that up for this time that I've set aside for it. And then when I came to the time that I had set aside for it, it just washed through me in this incredible wave of energy, right? Because I actually did create a space for it. So even though I had all this stuff that I had to do, I have to work, I have to, manage the schedules and the kids and the house and all of that stuff, right? I said, okay, here's your time frame. That's when I can do it. So, you just store up all this information you're generating and then plop it down on me in that time frame, and that's what we're doing then. I'm not dealing with all this other stuff. And it happened, and it was fantastic, and it felt great, and I find that I can manipulate time that way very frequently.
I'm interested in that, because that's always been my problem trying to write something. Is that I get this idea and it's like it keeps me up at night. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm just thinking about it. And the only way to resolve it is for me at the time is to sit down and start writing it when I don't really have time to. And I start getting the idea out and then I lose it. So you're saying I should just in a way give it a time frame, like leave me alone, come back to me next week on this date, and then we'll go for it. That your soul listens to that. That it'll bring all that freshness and that energy back.
And I call it the creative genius, right? It's out there. It's like this geniusness that's not me, but it's out there, and I'm an open channel for it, right? But the trick is you have to actually create space for it. So whether that's setting aside 30 minutes in the morning when you're going to do it and say, okay, there's the space that you get, and you have to deliver it in that amount of time. And if you actually maintain that as a practice, the 30 minutes in the morning, that is when you will change. You will train the geniuses or your soul or whatever you want to call it to come to you, right? So if you're getting up at 7 every morning, if you set a timer for 6:30 or you say at 7 for 30 minutes, what I'm going to do is write, they will come to you and they will deliver, right? Or if you say I have these 3 days in November marked out, they will come to you. If you say I'm taking 5 days off over here and I'm going to have time to deal with you, they will come to you. It's only when you don't keep your end of the bargain that you have a problem, right? If you say, yeah, you come here, right, at this time, but then you don't do it, yeah, you're going to lose it. It's going to go find somebody else. This idea, this genius, this music, this sound, these words, right? This art, this painting, this invention. It will go find somebody else if you're not keeping your word and saying, okay, yeah, I am going to sit down and I'm going to do this. And I hold that time as sacred space.
Well, you know, it sounds like when you say this, do you believe it's like, you know, from some people call them spirit guides? You think it's something like that? Or is it like tapping into the collective unconscious? You know, what do you think's happening? What's your opinion on, like, you know, this channeling? Because I totally feel you right on here. I mean, like exactly what you're saying. I've experienced that as an artist, being a musician or writing or painting. The stuff I've done over the years when I was more creative in those areas, it was like that, exactly. I mean, you can describe it more perfectly, Tracee. The experience of creating something like that, it really, I always, you know, one of the things I always said about like jamming with my band, and like, you know, I'd come out with lyrics while we're jamming on something, I'm like, I call it speaking in tongues.
Yeah.
It's very much like that religious, you know, the
I like
religious
that
phenomenon of speaking in tongues. You know, they come out with some other language. I'm speaking English, but sometimes it would be mumble jumble. You know, maybe it might sound like another language sometimes when I was like not really finding the words. But most of the time I would come out with these words and lyrics, and they would have to be those words to that song. If I came out with it in that jam session, we would be recording it. I would have to use those words or it would not be right. And even though it would make no sense to me, like, well, what's the meaning behind it? I'm like, I have no clue. You know, only that I could think of it back then even is channeling. It is like a form of channeling. I've always believed that. So I mean, there's a lot of power in what you're talking about, I believe. Scheduling it, yeah, I've seen that. I've not kept to my end of the bargain on sometimes. And I feel like it is a voice in your head that hounds you with these ideas sometimes, especially if it's writing. You know, a song comes in your head and you hear it, blah, 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 or an idea of a painting. But, man, when it's writing, and it's especially fictional story ideas, it's like these characters start living in your brain. And if you don't find a way to let go of it or write it, you know, it like haunts you.
Well, I think that wants to be born, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's an energy. It wants to be born. And so let's say you're the receiver of it, right? So artists are generally people who have learned to just receive that, right? But it can't stop at receiving in order for it to be manifest. You have to actually do it, right? And so if you think about it, it's like this amazing contract that you have with the geniuses of creativity, or with this idea, or with this sound, or this music, or this whatever it is that's coming to you that you have opened yourself to. And then if you don't sit down and do it, if you don't create the space to do it, if you don't promise it some kind of box that it can fit into in your life, then it feels betrayed and it goes away. And then you, as the artist, haven't necessarily betrayed yourself, but you have let this beautiful thing go, and that's painful for us as artists.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. It's painful for us as, you know, we watch this thing leave, and we're like, oh, that's not my thing anymore. It's not my idea anymore. It's not my sound anymore. I've lost it, right? And we've all felt that feeling of loss.
God,
like,
yes,
oh, okay. Have you ever woken up from a dream where you have written the most epic novel ever, and then you wake up and you can't remember it?
Oh, my God,
yeah. Oh, worst feeling ever, right?
Is.
Like,
I know exactly
it haunts you.
It
For
does.
years, it haunts you.
Years.
Oh,
my God. I know that feeling so well.
Worse. It's even worse when you're conscious and you're in the shower or you're driving or you're working or whatever, and all this amazingness is being delivered to you and you don't have time to do it. It's even worse when you're like, oh, I got to take my kids to soccer practice. You know, like, that sucks. It's a horrible experience as a writer, as a creative. It's a terrible experience. And so you just have to make a practice, a spiritual practice of it. That's the only answer. Like, you just have to say, and I don't do this. I don't do every morning at 30 minutes or whatever. I don't do that. But I do, okay, and I will set this, like, weekend when my kids are not here, or when I'm just going to check out and I'm going to say, hey, yo, Dad, it's your turn, because I got to do this, right? And I have found that when you set rules on time, when you set rules for the creative geniuses and you say, look, I have human responsibilities, I have bills to pay, I have kids to run around, I got to put some groceries in the fridge, but I love you, please come to me, I want to do this is amazing, right? But I'm going to work out this box of time that you have to fit in. I find that they're pretty respectful of that, right? And then you've already written the whole thing in your head. You've already just written it, painted it, created it, right? So when you get that block of time, you can totally produce amazing amounts of work in that block of time because it's already done, right? And you've set the limit and you have obeyed the rules and kept your end of the bargain up.
So the way you make it sound, though, you make it sound like there's actually an entity of some kind that shows up. I'm not trying to make light of that. It's something I'm really interested in. You think it is some kind of entity, or is it a force that's showing up when you make that time? Is it something?
I do.
Spirit guide. You have any, like, your own, like, personal thoughts? Like, do you have a belief system you go by, like, with, like, you have a name for it, or
I call them the creative geniuses. I feel like spirit guides are different, and maybe they're not. I don't know, but I've just thought of them as different. I've thought of them as more, advice givers, I guess. But these creative geniuses are more like, I feel like ideas, stories, essays, paintings are energies in and of themselves that want to be born.
The ancient Greek muse?
That's what I was going to say, is Muse. My favorite band, by the way.
All right. So the ancient Greek muse, for instance, might be the deliverer of these energies. But the ideas themselves, or the music itself, or the painting itself, is an energy that wants to be physical in this world. But it can't do it without a human, an artist, a painter, a musician, a poet, a writer, right? It can't do it. And so it's looking for someone to do that for it, like make it manifest, make the time, make the sacrifice, sit down and do it, right? Just translate it out so that others can experience it. I feel like that is an entity in and of itself, delivered by muses.
Yeah, that's always, I'm glad Todd brought up that point, because I was thinking the same thing. I was trying to think muse. What's it? Greek? I was trying to think if it was Greek. So thank you, Todd. I was like,
muse.
Yep, that is, it's totally what it is. It's something like that. I'm never myself, like I said, I'm a Gnostic. I don't hold to, like, one set of belief in anything, but I've always had this feeling that whenever, I was writing a song, or I was creating a story, or writing a story, that there was something else. I wasn't alone. That there was something else there with me doing it. It's one thing that's convinced me that there's more than just that your voice in your head. There is something
Yes.
that's communicating with you.
Well, and you know this as even not an artist. You know this as a listener or a reader or whatever. The other day I was reading this book and I was like, this book has no right to be this good. One of them where I had that thought was a Stephen King book. And I feel like some of his books are dusted with fairy magic and some of them are not, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's written so many books. So sometimes I'll pick up one and I'm like, I have no idea why this book is keeping me up till 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, the plot does not justify it. The language doesn't justify it. I like the whole construction as a writer. I'm like, what is it? And I think it's just dusted by fairy dust. He just got the genies, right? He got the muse, and they delivered it to him. And sometimes he just writes books that are just whatever, you know? Like, they're not magical. And I think a lot of authors do that. Like, there's something to be said for craft and developing craft. And we can all write books like that, and it's great, and it's awesome. But then sometimes those muses, those genies, those creative geniuses sprinkle some fairy dust on our work. And when that happens, it's not just magical for the author or the writer or the painter. It's magical for the reader and the viewer and the listener, right? And then you're like, yeah, this is the stuff, right? That's art. That's the juice. I mean, that's the stuff that makes the listener so excited.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like magic fairy dust.
You know, even this show that I started, I got that voice in my head. I got this itch to broadcast or do something. Being a paranormal investigator, I was just kind of getting in a rut. Like, you know, I got all this evidence and data and nobody to talk to about it, being stuck here in Indiana. you know, just my close friends in the group, you know, but it's like I wanted to reach out and talk to people about it, and there was this itch in my head of how to do it. Like, you can do this. You can, like the music. The last song I ever wrote is the intro song to this show.
Aha!
And when I wrote it, I'm like, what I used to write it with and all the stuff I ended up using for the show, and that song was meant to get me back into music, but it led me in another direction. You know, I ended up going in this direction of doing this show, and this song ended up fitting perfectly as an intro song, my last song I ever wrote. You know, so it's like even with something like this where I'm on the fly every night, you know, asking questions and interviewing people, it's not as creative as my other ventures, but there was still that voice there that got me doing it big time. You know, I had an idea for the logo, and I gave it. Now, I didn't make the logo, but that was my idea for it. Exactly, the alien, the ghost, and the Bigfoot and the soup bowl. That's what I pictured as a logo. Bill Perry there in the chat room and a friend of mine made that. But he took the idea that I had and flew with it. You know, it's just like these things, and they wouldn't let me go. That thought of that logo didn't get out of my head until Bill put it on paper for me, you know, and sent it to me, you know, and then boom, it was finally, I got my logo. This is what it's been bugging me to have. You know, these things, I think, you know, they can even, you know, affect you at, you know, I don't hear this inner voice at my work because I'm not inspired by my job as much, you know what I'm saying? But sometimes I do. Sometimes it gets me even there. Like, just to find a new creative way of doing something at work or make something better and trusting it. You know, everything you're saying hits home really true. You know, if I think anybody watching or listening, you're hitting on a lot of points that I think everybody experiences every day, and those moments in their life, that still quiet voice, and something I've always believed in strongly. But what I have trouble is getting to that voice. Like, when I really need it, when I want it, sometimes I have trouble. You know, like I make that scheduled time and I sit down and it's just not happening. What do I do? What are some things you can do to enhance that inner voice when you make that time? You're going to sit down, and then all the crap from that week just still running around in your head.
So first, I want to say that what you're doing with Paranormal Soup is actually not less creative than writing music. I think that any kind of, when I paint my walls, I hear the words of the paint. Right? So it's called linen. I hear linen over and over and over until I paint the frickin' wall linen, right?
Right.
And I didn't do it in my bedroom, and it was Martha Stewart sand. Like, I don't give a crap about Martha Stewart. I've never seen the color, but that's what my soul is telling me. It must be Martha Stewart sand. So fine, okay. And I will get pestered by it over and over and over and over and over until finally I give in. Right? Because it's something energetic, right? The color of the wall is energetic to what you're doing. So for me, and for a lot of people, you are hearing the voice. You are.
Yeah,
and you're ignoring it, or you're telling it to shut up, or you're telling it, no, I like pumpkin better, right? You're just saying no to the voice. So part of the secret is just to accept that the voice is the voice, and it's either going to get what it wants or it's going to keep torturing you. That's one major piece, right? So if your voice is telling you to do something, you're just going to do it or be pestered by it. But then the other thing is, I hear the voices not so much when I'm sitting still and silent as when I'm doing kickboxing, for instance, right? So I love kickboxing, and one of the reasons I love it is because my voice, my inner silent voice, my soul, has a chance to speak because my ego and my body are already engaged in something else, right? So I'm hitting a bag. I'm kicking a bag. I'm trying to do what my instructors told me to do. So she might say, you know, this, you know, side, kidney, right? So my brain and my body are so engaged that sometimes I have a chance to listen to my inner voice, right? Because everybody's busy, and finally my soul is like, go for the linen paint, you know? Try this marketing strategy.
Well, you're kicking the crap out of a bag.
Yeah. Well, I'm kicking the crap out of a bag. It's because my brain is not thinking about it, and my body is really engaged, and my ego just likes to kick the crap out of things. Just does, right?
For me, I guess I don't get to go kickboxing. I guess this moment happens for me when I'm mowing my lawn.
Okay, see? You're engaged.
I think about stories or what I want to do with the show, or you know, I even start thinking about music again. It always seems to happen when I mow my lawn.
It doesn't have to be meditation. It really doesn't. You don't have to be sitting still to hear it. One of my best practices that I find so incredible is to do intentional sleeping, is what I call it. Right? So before I go to sleep, I might say something like, yeah, I love sleep. I love naps. And when I take them, I call these soul naps. If I take a nap, I call it a soul nap. And it's like this really intense thing where my body just cannot go anymore. I'm just over it. I'm done. I'm exhausted. I cannot go. Before I go to sleep, I'll say, oh, I need the healing that you need to give to me, or I need an answer to this question, or I need to focus on something. What should I focus on? And when I wake up, I know the answer. Because I believe when we're sleeping, we're off doing spiritual work. We're off, our souls are extremely active when we're sleeping. So if we just lay down and say, okay, I'm going to go to sleep, I'm going to go unconscious basically, and you're going to take over. When you come back, I would like to know what my next best choice is. I would like to know what the answer to this question is. I would like to know what my focus should be. I would like to know what you want me to write about, right? So this is a way that you can hear the still small voice without doing anything really, except for going to sleep.
Yeah, get to sleep. I've actually kind of done that before. When I've been bugged by a story and I'm not sure where to go with it. You know, I'm still trying to get that right novel written. But I've gotten there where I've finally honey, I'm gonna take a nap because it'll give me a headache.
A nap is right.
Yeah, I'll lay down to let it go. To kind of let it go, and just you show me whatever I need to in the dream. I've exactly what you thought and said, or you're saying there's exactly what I thought when I've laid down, and at times, just to kind of let something go. I think I even did that.
You should see the notepad in my phone with all the things I've written right before falling to sleep.
Oh yeah, I have that too. I have a notepad on my phone where I would put notes for story ideas and stuff. I've done that for a long time, and it always is right before I go to bed.
Yeah.
It always seems that's when it's hitting.
Yeah, and then in the morning is when I do most of my writing. I might do a question in the evening, but when I wake up, that's when I really try to pay attention. Did I get something from that? What did that mean? Yeah.
Well,
and most people have experienced that, right? Most people have had this experience, but they're discounting it. They're asking for some further proof. Right? So they're not intuitively just accepting it as true or real or right or the answer, right? So Einstein could have woke up and said, yeah, I don't think electricity is really that good of an idea, right? Like he could have done that, but He didn't, and that's why we have electricity. So I think many, 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 many things are coming through people, and they're just going, yeah, but I have a job. Yeah, but I don't have enough money. Yeah, but I got a couple kids, right? I just don't have the energy or the time or the money or the whatever. And I find that if I am delivered something like this, right, if the universe, God, the genies, whatever, has delivered me with something like this, it means I do have the time, I do have the money, and I do have the energy to make it manifest because they've already given it to me. They didn't give it to somebody else. They give it to me, right? And they want to be born. And so they're choosing someone who can actually pull it off. So it then becomes mine if I accept it. Now, we can refuse things all we want. We could say, not going to do it, and it'll go find somebody else, and that's fine. Like, sometimes I'm like, can't, sorry, not going to write that.
You know, I've had a few of those ideas, like, yeah, no, I'm sure I could write that, but I don't want to. But it would be a brilliant idea for somebody else.
Yes, and that's okay as an artist. Like, you have crawling babies. Like, yeah, that's hard labor, dude. That is no easy task, right? So now that my kids are 10 and 14, I have a lot more ability to pull a lot of the ideas off.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So it is okay to say, yo, universe, I have crawling babies.
That's kind of what I've done.
Get
That's why I started doing this. Well, that's kind of why I started doing this show. You know, you nailing that there too. It's kind of why I started doing this show. It was my new kind of outlet because I just I can't get the time I really need to do the music because it's not there. And the
that's
writing
okay.
even. I'm like, and I've told myself like when they get older and are a little bit less rambunctious, that'll be my time to kind of get back into it. I think. You know
what? That is totally acceptable. It's totally okay. You don't have to receive every single thing the universe comes to ask you for. When my kids were little, I made being a mom my priority, right? Like I was a stay-at-home mom, I was a work-at-home mom, and that was my priority. It wasn't until they started school that I really was like, okay, all right, I could take on more, right? But there were a lot of ideas that I was like, look, I just can't do that right now. I'm sorry, you're going to have to go find somebody else to do that, right? They don't always stay with you, but other things come. Newer ideas.
Before we continue, hold on one second. I want to point out I do have the Skype line open to anybody that wants to call in. Remember, it's oojblandoo. That's a Skype ID. If you want to call in, it's audio only. You only have to give your first name. If you don't, whatever. But you can call in. Tracee, you'd be willing to give people advice if they had some questions, right?
Sure.
Yeah, so hey,
I'd love to.
I think this is one of the best people I've ever had on the show. For people, it doesn't have to be paranormal people. This isn't, my show is Paranormal Soup. If there's anything paranormal, it's the way that you, I think, have accepted how to coach people. You're trusting your own inner voice to tell you what to say, right? In a way.
And Tracee, you've got a lot of people in the chat room fired up too, as well. You've got some
cool.
1,000,000% agreements, and some people running while they think, and
cool.
So yeah, if anybody wants to call in, the Skype ID again is oojblandoo, and just send me a contact request. Sometimes I think it lets you call without the contact request because I've had people I've never accepted contact requests and they just called in. So you can try to call if you get the ID. I don't know, but you might have to send a contact request. We can continue talking though. If anybody calls, just give me a second. I'll let you on. Let us finish our conversation or what we're talking point about at that time. So Tracee, we're talking to trying to enhance the ability to hear that inner voice and that. Now, can you tell us a little bit about some of the stranger experiences you've had, like with that inner voice when it's told you something?
Yeah, okay. So for the parents, I'll give you two examples, right? So this inner voice can keep you out of serious trouble if you don't question it. So one time my kids and I were driving from Utah to Colorado, and we were going through Wyoming on I-80. And I needed gas, and we were all hungry, and we had to go to the bathroom, and there's not a lot of places you can stop on this road. So we pull over at this gas station. I get gas, but we walk in, and there's a very, very, very strange vibe. And everyone in the gas station is like a young 20-something, maybe a Middle Eastern person, and they're cooking curry, and we notice that all of the food that is on the shelves has like a layer of dust on it. Like it's been there for years. And we're like, that's not good. Yeah, we're like, this is odd because it's Wyoming in the middle of nowhere. And I didn't say it. My daughter said, there's something wrong with this place. We need to leave. And it's because I've taught my children that they need to listen to that voice, right? And I was like, yeah, we totally need to leave. We didn't look for a reason. We didn't need to look for, like, okay, well, why are we feeling this way? What, let's wait for something really bad to happen first, right? We just turned around, got in the car, and we left, right? And who knows why that was there or why that wasn't there. I don't need the validation to know that that was sketchy. That was not cool. There was something wrong about that place. Another time we did that at the local Taco Bell. We walked into the Taco Bell. My daughter turned around and said, this doesn't feel good. We need to go. And I felt it too. And so did my son. We all felt it. And we were like, I don't know what's going on in here, but we're not staying. We just got out. Right? So what
your
people need to
gastrointestinal tract thanked you.
Yeah.
True. My gastrointestinal tract probably did thank me. But the point is, you don't have to have a reason. You just have to feel it and then believe it and then act on it, right? None of this stuff, whether it's good, like, oh my gosh, I have this idea, right? Believe it, act on it. I had this feeling that this was not safe. Believe it, act on it. Because that's what it's there for.
So what are, you've coached people. Now, if somebody wanted you to be their kind of life coach, what's the process of doing that with you?
Okay, so what's the process? First, I'm very big on intention, right? What do you want? What do you want your life to look like? What do you want your business to look like? Why do you want to make money, right? So people always think they want $1 million. Okay, what would you do with $1 million? Why do you want $1 million? Why do you want 6 figures? What is it that you're wanting? What is your soul wanting? So I usually do this, I always do this, intake form where they tell me what they think they want. And then the next session, we do a soul versus ego smackdown. And in the soul versus ego smackdown, we walk through a meditation so they're accessing just their soul and they've silenced the outside voices. And it's never the same what their soul wants as what they think they want.
Yeah, I've heard that,
right?
From people that, it's, you think you want one thing, but it's something else that is it more like what you need?
No, you know what? Souls, here's the thing about egos. Egos like numbers. They like to say, oh, I had a 6-figure business. Your soul doesn't give a crap about a 6-figure business, which is probably why you don't have one, right? Your soul cares very much about your lifestyle and your level of happiness and joy. So
let's say, $1 million bring me joy? I'm sorry. That's what somebody would say to you, right?
Technically, no.
I agree with you.
And here's why. Because people who do win the lottery end up exactly where they were 5 years ago within 5 years, right?
Oh, yeah.
So because they don't care about the number. The number is just energy, right? So what my soul cares about may not be the same thing as your soul cares about, but there's probably some similarities. So you and I are parents, so what we care about is that our kids are educated, well-fed, taken to the doctor, good medicine, right? Like, we care about those things. Our souls care about the protection of our children.
I'm a worried parent.
I can provide that for my children without $1 million, right? And so can you. And so your ego's like, we need $1 million to take care of our kids. But your soul is like, no, you don't. Like, what you need is a little bit of insurance and some income and a good neighborhood. Like, that's really essentially what you need to raise some good kids.
Yeah, I need a better neighborhood. I know that.
And a better neighborhood is a good reason to make more money, right? Yeah. If you live in a shit neighborhood, that is a good reason to say, yeah, we need to make some more dough, or we need to do something different with our dough so that we can do that. That's a worthy sacrifice. And your soul, if you say that to your soul, it will roll out the carpet for you, because it really cares about the welfare of your children and who you are as a parent. But if you say, I'm not moving out of this neighborhood until I make 6 figures.
I don't care what I have to make. I want to just get the heck out of my neighborhood.
Right. But a lot of people do put limits on that. I'm not going to take that vacation until I make 6 figures and feel secure. Well, then you're never going to take the vacation, right? Because the 6 figures doesn't determine the vacation. So I'll give you a really good example of that.
Yeah.
For the last 2 years, I've taken my children on vacation for a month. And both of these times, I have never had the money to do that. Not even close, right? So if I had said, well, when I'm making enough money, that's when I'll do it, I never would have done it. We wouldn't have had those experiences. The first year, we went to Mexico, and we got an Airbnb apartment, and then I rented my own house on Airbnb, and I kept coaching via Skype, and we were able to pay for the whole thing, right, with just some adjustments. Using technology, using technology and the resources that we already had, right? But I meet so many people who are like, well, I have to make way more money to do that. Well, no, you don't, right? We just went to New York City for a month. We stayed in a brownstone in Brooklyn, and it was awesome. And I rented my own house to like 5 families on Airbnb while we were gone. And I kept coaching on Skype, and we were able to do the trip without me making an extra $50,000. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't have to wait till I could afford it. I just had to think creatively about how to do it. And the reason that it happened for us is because my soul and my 2 children's souls cared about that experience, right? It cared about the experience, not the money. We cared about spending time together, seeing new things, experiencing a new culture, that kind of thing, right? So if you are asking the universe to give you experiences, the universe is more than happy to do that. But the universe does not care about specific numbers, but our egos get super hung up on them.
Hey, I know mine does.
Everyone's does.
I'll admit it. Oh, yeah.
Everyone's does.
Being my family, I'd like to take them out on a vacation, but half time we're like, yep, not this time, because this bill and that bill, you know how it goes. So the trouble is sometimes not my soul convincing me, it's my soul finding a way to convince my wife.
Okay, well, you got to get on the same page there, because spouses can be really kind of difficult. That's one of the things I do for my clients.
Spouse, I'm just as bad as she is, though. That's, I can be just as...
Well, if you can both get on the same page, the power of your manifesting will go really, really high, really, really fast.
What do you think about this concept, too? We were talking about this. What was this I had on? Connie Willis I had from Coast to Coast AM. She was talking about radionics as a theory of, like, letting go of your wishes in a way. Like, to put them out, they actually machines. They believe you focus your stuff into this machine, it's putting a signal out there. But in a way, it all comes down to when you get what you asked for is when you let go of it, kind of. And
the surrender.
Yeah, kind of like surrender. It's not giving up. It's not giving up at all. It's like letting go. Like, stop trying to think about it and to just put it out there in the universe and let it go. Now, like I said, they go as far as having like machines. They believe they can help you tune in and all that stuff. I don't know about all that. But the idea of it, I told her, really resonated with me, especially my thoughts about like Tibetan Buddhism and mantras and like letting, they would do things to take thoughts and put them out there, to get them out of themselves, to have it manifest in the reality later, like a topa or a thought form.
Yes. So I don't know about that technology. I've not heard of it before.
Yeah, I didn't either until she talked about it on the show. So.
I will say this. My kids and I make a dream board at the beginning of the year, right? And we'll put where we want to go on that dream board. So in January, we put New York on the dream board. At the time, we had no idea how we were going to pull it off. No clue. And we didn't think about it. And we didn't strategize about it. We didn't know. And, you know, like the month before, I was like, yeah, we're probably going to go in June. My co-parent was like, hey, do you, like, know what date you're going to go? And I was like, no, because I don't really have any money right now. And I wasn't, like, thinking about it. My kids weren't thinking about it. We just were going to go, right? And so, you know, I just knew that something was going to happen, and I was surrendered to whatever that was. And then, of course, something did happen. I sold a contract, and, you know, I had enough money to pay for the Airbnb and the plane tickets all at once and spent it, right? And then I was like, I wonder how I'll actually pay for this trip.
See, it almost goes against my nature, though, because you know, you'll call it my ego,
Of course
but
it goes against your nature.
my nature is you can ask my wife. I overthink everything, and you know, I think it to death.
So what I would say about that is this: try something small. Don't try a month, right?
Well,
the
no.
reason I could do a month is because I've been practicing this
I
for
just went three or 4
10
days.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So say we are going to take a vacation for 3 to 4 days. Somewhere awesome. If it has to be a specific place, say a specific place. If not, just somewhere awesome. And just do it. Just like make a date and then be like, you know what? We're going to be good. We're going to, I mean, the first year we do this, I told my kids, listen, actually we've done this several years in a row. Listen, we're not buying any superficial stuff because we're going to Mexico. Or because we're going to New York City. And so we have like a code word, right? So if they're like, Mom, can I have a blank? I'm like, Mexico. And everybody knows the reason you're not getting a blank is because we're going to Mexico. And that's our priority. And that's what we're choosing, right? So I have done this repeatedly. And my kids are on board. Everybody's on board with, hey, no, you're not getting the stupid Happy Meal. Because we're going to freaking Mexico.
That's
right?
not
Get
gonna
it
happen with my
together.
4-year-old.
We're
Because they
going
scream
to
at me.
Mexico.
No,
You're not getting the shirt.
You said Happy Meal. That if I told my 4-year-old son, which is a Happy Meal, is like the it's the star of his day. You know, he gets that Happy Meal. He's like, woohoo! And literally, I mean, and so if I
So
told him,
do you want a
hey,
Happy Meal or do you want to go to Disneyland? There's your choice.
my son's one train thought, he'd be like, I want my Happy Meal.
No. So as a parent, you have to go no, because you're not going to remember the Happy Meal tomorrow morning.
You don't know my son. You don't know my son. He'll wake up the first thing in the morning and go, I didn't get my Happy Meal. He's done that to me.
Jason listens to your advice and gets stabbed by his son in the night.
A 4-year-old. I know he's gonna grow out of that. You know, that's the thing.
Start something small. Start with something small. A little trip, like a couch. I manifested my couches and my van and my boots. I love my boots. I live in Colorado. I need good boots.
Yeah, definitely need good boots.
That's legit.
Just a reminder, guys, Skype line, I have posted in chat again. It is oojblandoo if you want to call in. Like I said, it's a good time to call in if you want some personal advice on your life, you got a business, or just you give everyday life. You don't just coach people on their businesses, right? You coach people on their creative activities and just everyday life.
Yes, I do. I don't think there's a difference between your business and your life. I think that often people fall into this productivity addiction thing where they let their business eat their life, or they let their plan B job eat their art. And I'm against that. I'm not a fan.
Well, you wouldn't be a fan of my life. I've gotten out of it. I mean, I'm doing this show, you know, but like I definitely feel like one of the other reasons why I couldn't be creative musically anymore is I work at a retail job where they play the worst, crappiest music 90% of the time, all day long, and I get home and I don't want anything to do with music. I don't want to hear it. I want quiet. I want talk radio. And my wife's like, what happened? You used to listen to all this music. You don't listen to music anymore. It's because I'm like bombarded by crappy Kanye West or stuff like that all day long. And sorry if there's any Kanye fans out there. I'm just not. I'm not a Kanye fan. Oh my God. You know, these songs that just get drilled in my brain. I get home and I want quiet or I want talk radio to take me somewhere else. You know, that's just how
talk radio. What do you listen to talk radio that's soothing?
Older reruns of Art Bell. Paranormal King Radio Network is a good one. He's got a lot of stuff that's streamed on there from old shows, and then he has different hosts on there. So I listen to a lot of that. Shout out to Paranormal Pride and Paraversal Universe, two of my favorite shows on there, and Ross Raposo's show on Paranormal King on Wednesdays. I like that. So I listen to those, and like I said, a lot of Art Bell old reruns. It soothes me. I don't know. I like listening to people talk. That's why I got into this, because I've been doing it since. I've been listening to Art Bell since 1996.
Wow.
And thanks to the internet, I get to listen to all of his old episodes. It's like time travel.
Come on, if somebody in the chat room doesn't call in, Jason's going to start playing Kanye music.
Uh-oh.
No. No. I
wouldn't, not going to happen.
I wouldn't even torture anybody with that. That's just too wrong. Too wrong.
So what do you wish you were doing instead of a retail job?
This, honestly. I mean, this encompasses every week, because it's only one day a week. I can imagine how somebody like Art Bell did it 5 days a week. It encompasses my mind all the way up until the show. Like, what am I going to do in the World Wide Web of Weird? What do I want to talk to my guest about? What questions I want to ask him about? It encompasses my whole week. Like, you can ask my wife. She's just, she's like, Jason, back to reality. I'm talking to you right now, because she knows I'm off in my own little world. Usually thinking about stuff for this show, and I know I have to balance that. Sometimes, like, I gotta, like, all right, put it aside. I have to spend time with my kids and wife, which I love. There's times where I'm not thinking about my show at all right now. I'm with my family, or I'm playing with my sons, and it doesn't bother. But there's other times I'm on the couch, we're watching TV or whatever. We should be spending some time together, and I am off in La La Land, thinking about this show.
Well, you're off in creative land.
I am, yeah.
What is exciting to you about this paranormal thing? Like, why do you think that it's so much a part of your life? Because I know many people who believe in ETs or believe in paranormal, but they're not consumed with it. They're not listening to talk radio about it. They're not reading about it or searching about it on the internet. So what is it about that makes you so excited?
Probably because, I've always been a weird kid. My nickname that I got picked on by bullies in grade school wasn't that bad of a nickname. I didn't think it was, but they would call me, it was Mad Scientist, because I had crazy science fiction ideas. I would write them out on paper. I also believed when I was a little kid, I went and posted a ghost. I've told this story on before, but I went and posted, when I saw Ghostbusters as a kid, I went and posted flyers up my mom's phone number, telling them to call me if they had a ghost. I was probably like 6 years old. I don't know. My mom found out that I put her phone number up everywhere. I was in kind of trouble. But I saw weird stuff as a kid. Stuff that today I just can't explain. I even saw one of the earliest memories I have my cousin who shared that experience with me. We both saw a green floating head come flying into this room, cackling at us. That scarred me for life. I was only 4 years. I was the age of my son. I was 4, almost 5 years old. It scarred me for life. It let me know that there is more to reality than what you're taught in school, what you're taught by materialistic world. That there's something more. It's made me question reality ever since, because of seeing that and having somebody else see it with you. That still remembers it. Instills that it wasn't just a figment of your mind. We both saw it, and that's one of the many weird things that I've had happen over my life. One of the many. I don't know why weird stuff like that attracts me. Maybe it's because I look for it too. Now being a paranormal investigator since 2008, I look for it now. So if I see something weird, it's because I'm looking for it. But back then, it's just something that would happen to me as a kid. Just weird. I could go on all night about all the different weird stuff that has happened to me. So I guess it's just always been a part of my life. I'm fascinated with it, and I'm always asking.
Well, do
questions.
you think there's some purpose to that?
I've always wondered if there is a purpose. I don't know. Sometimes I think I'll say this. I told you I was a musician. I was I was also an artist, graphic artist. I went to school for film and TV. Went 1 year, Columbia College. Was not happy with it, what I was doing. Never got back to school. Did the whole musician thing. I got very familiar with sound, doing audio. So and then I was doing computer graphics too. So like all these things, and then listening to Art Bell, listening to a lot of talk radio. It's like all these things one day just came together into this Paranormal Soup. Like all these different things I learned throughout my life. Oh, we got a call. Hold on one second. Oh, I hit the camera. Oh, we're good. You there? You there, Rhodey? Can you hear me, Rhodey?
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me. Hold on.
Can't hear Jason.
Do you hear me now?
Oh, your audio's loud enough, Jason. It's on his end.
Yeah, can you hear me, Rhodey? Hold on a second. My kid was down here. I think something got messed up. Hold on. Hold on, Rhodey.
All right, well, now's your cue to tell us some more about the book while Jason's poking buttons.
Okay, well, I have a few books. If you're wondering what your soul's purpose is, a good place to start is Soul versus Ego Smackdown. How to say yes to your soul and tell your ego to suck it. So if you're hearing a lot of those, I can't, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money, I'm not good enough messages in your mind, this will tell you how to discover that those are your ego, not your soul, and help you figure out how to say no to those and say yes to your soul and figure out what you want to do with your life and what are you feeling called to do and what does your soul really care about. So that's a really fun one.
Is it something people can pick up at local stores, or is it an Amazon thing? Or
some local stores have it. Just go to Amazon. Amazon has it. It's actually really cheap on an ebook right now. Like, I don't know, $1 or something.
Can you hear me now, Rhodey?
Yes, I can.
All right. Had the wrong thing plugged in. It wasn't even my kid's fault. It was my own. Blaming my kid.
Hi, Rhodey.
Rhodey is one of my best callers. She always knows more about my guests than I do. So, Rhodey.
Oh.
Okay. Thank you, Tracee. I'm really so happy to talk to you. I unfortunately have not been able to hear this show, but let me just say this. Jason cut me off if I go too long I got a bunch of questions, but
all right, Rhodey.
I actually went to your Facebook page. I Googled you. I went to your website, and then I downloaded the Kindle edition of your book.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and so then I started in the book, and then after about chapter 5, I had to go research the book, The Secret, and then read excerpts from it. Anyway, I do have a few questions, if I may, a couple of quick ones, and maybe one not so quick. If I may ask you?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. First, a couple of them you might kind of think are silly, but what is say you'd walk some of your clients through, and this is off of the book, so I don't know what this show's been about, so the listeners might not get it, but you said you'd walk some of your clients through cord cutting rituals and tapping.
Yeah.
T-A-P-P-I-N. What is that?
So, all right, there are two different things. Cord cutting is a spiritual phenomenon where we are corded with other people, ideas, events, beings. So if you can think of it like an umbilical cord that's attaching you to something else, right? And this thing might be taking your energy, or you might be taking its energy, or it might be affecting your thinking or whatever. So maybe you have an ex-husband, for instance, or a mother, right, where you're corded with them, you're attached to them in some way, and there's some energy being exchanged. So cord-cutting ritual would be to sever the negative cords, not the cords of love. So with your mother, you might have some negative cords from some negative messaging that you got as a child that you're still carrying around or that exists between the two of you. So you would go through a cord-cutting ritual to remove the negative but maintain the loving cords that connect you. It could be an event that happened in your life, an old job, some training that you've gotten, a friendship, an ex-husband, a mother, any person that you've come across, you could have cords with, and they can be negatively or positively affecting your life in a way that maybe you don't need them anymore. Maybe you don't want those cords attached to you, so you would go to a coach or a spiritual counselor or an energy worker and have those removed.
Is it like sorry, 1 second, Rhodey. Is that like an actual ceremony in a way to like cut that cord, like a spiritual kind of act?
Yeah, it's kind of a spiritual visualization or meditation in which the practitioner would help you sever the cord and make sure that you fill it up with positive goodness or godness or your own soul, so that other sort of energy cannot penetrate back into you, or that the cord can't refill. So you probably should find an energy worker, or I do it with my clients sometimes. You can do it on your own after you learn how to do it. I wouldn't recommend that you do it without help first, because it can have some pretty significant consequences. When you do it, your relationship with whatever person that you're doing it with will change, and you want to make sure that you don't change that in a really negative or detrimental way. And let's say you cut cords with an ex-husband, it might interfere with a current relationship if you don't do it in the proper way. So I don't know that I would suggest that your viewers do it on their own without any training. But you can learn how to do it after you've done it a few times with a practitioner. Now, tapping was her other question. If you think of feelings or memories or experiences as energy, right? And maybe you received this in a traumatic event, or you had a childhood trauma, or whatever it was, even an argument, or it doesn't matter what it was. But if you don't know how to release that at the time, these feelings are just banging around in your body. They're affecting your organs, they're affecting the way that you think, they're affecting your whole entire spiritual and physical system, right? So tapping allows you to release emotion or experiences this energy. Emotion is energy, right? It's allowing you to release this energy through acupuncture or acupressure points in your body. So it goes through a certain sequence where you sort of accept what your feeling is and then release it. And it kind of goes like this, where you start at your head, and then you go to an eyebrow, and you go to an eye, and then a cheek, and then upper lip, and then here, and the karate chop points, right? So this too, you can learn to do by yourself. There are a lot of YouTube videos about tapping that you can just watch and follow through the sequence. But there's sort of a sequence that allows you to release the energy, so then it's not banging around in your body, in your mind, in your head, in your emotions, so that you can feel better and make better choices.
Okay, all that is did you talk about your book and the law of attraction? I haven't been able to hear the show. Did you guys talk about that?
Yeah, we did. We talked about, well, not the law of attraction. We talked about her saying yes to her soul, but we did get into some of that law of attraction, I think, a little bit in the discussion.
Yeah. Okay, well, could I ask, in the book you also talk about hormones and MS and your daughter starting to go through puberty and all that. So my second one is, do you, because you said you have some psychic ability, you went into detail about what you meant about that, but it seemed like you were saying, and I want to clarify, that hormones, whether going up or down, have fluctuations in your abilities. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would say that they do. I would say that there's cycles in life, whether that's in nature, so summer, spring, winter, fall, those are cycles. But a woman also has cycles that are shorter than the annual season, and with those cycles are going to come periods of more intuition and deep reflection. So for PMS and menstruation, probably you're going into a more introspective listening time. And the other times, the other 2 weeks of the month are more action. So during PMS, you're kind of putting your foot down and saying, no, this is where my boundary is. And with menstruation, you're kind of going inside and you're going, okay, what do I want? How am I going to change this? What's my plan? And you're more introspective. And then when that comes around and the menstruation ends and you go back into the other 2 weeks, it's very action-oriented. And you're able to make decisions based on the previous 2 weeks much more firmly and actively, and take a lot of really quick, swift action on those. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does, hearing you say it. And I have to tell you, this is wild. This is all new information to me. And I just never heard any of this stuff. And I've been around. I know your age because I know it. So I could be your mom. So tells you how long I've been around. I just never heard any of this stuff, and I'm always trying to learn. That's Jason. I'm always trying to soak up and learn and, you know, see everything you. But okay, I've got one more, Jason. If it's okay. Okay, this is kind of the more serious, long one. I really want to, and I apologize. I only got because I got sidetracked researching The Secret. Because really about chapter 5, I felt like I wasn't really grasping everything you were saying without knowing what that was about. But okay, you say it's in chapter 6 or 7 that if we work hard, we make money. If we do all things right, then we get success. And I think your exact words were this: because collective consciousness. Now I know you followed The Secret and the laws of attraction. And it basically, what I learned today, if I'm correct, it says, want it, think it, will happen. Money, success. So, but then you go on to say that the law of attraction is part of getting what you want, but you say there's a unknown part or element of the universe out there that controls the energy of the money and of the success. So, since you seem to be really a supporter and of The Secret and laws of attraction, this seems to be a little, say there's something else we haven't identified. I was just wondering if you could go into a little more detail of what you mean by that, because I'm very interested.
Yeah, you were cutting out a little bit on me, but I think I understood your question. Okay, so law of attraction is basically the idea that like attracts like. That what you think about comes to you, whether that's negative or positive. And that happens, right? But I have been tracking law of attraction for a long time. About 10 years ago, I did my first dream board, and I can tell you so many stories where I've attracted that van or that house or these couches or these adventures or these books or these opportunities, and that's all true. But I have found that if this were a science, which many people say it is with law of attraction, if it were a science, it would happen every single time. And what I have found that it only happens when your soul actually cares about it and wants to participate in it, right? So sometimes I'll tell people when they say, well, you know, I've been sitting on my couch and visualizing a Maserati every day for 5 years. Why don't I have a Maserati? I'm like, well, because your soul doesn't care about a Maserati, right? Your soul could care less about a Maserati. Maybe your soul wants adventure, or maybe your soul wants to help people, or maybe your soul wants to write something. Your soul does not care about a Maserati, so the universe is not going to roll out the red carpet for you to get a Maserati, right? And we've all had experiences where we've attracted something or really hard for something, and it's been extremely empty or unfulfilling, right? So I remember this when I sort of when this dawned on me. I had made a list of 100 things I had accomplished that year, and they were all really awesome things. I had written a book, I had started a company, you know, they were very exciting things, and I looked at this list and I felt nothing about it. Nothing. It was just this empty sort of, well, who cares? That didn't make me happy, right? Everyone's experienced something where they've worked hard for something, they got it, and they felt nothing about it. Well, the reason that you felt nothing about it is because your soul didn't care about it. So sometimes you get it and you don't care, and sometimes you don't get it because your soul doesn't care. So what I have found to be a much better recipe is to really tune into what your soul actually wants to attract, what it really cares about, and then ask for and work for that. Now, law of attraction, a lot of gurus of law of attraction will say, you just visualize it.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Here's what I know. Here's what I know. There is no law of attraction without action, right? There isn't. You cannot just sit there and wish that you were a best-selling author without sitting down at the computer screen and typing the words to create a book. You cannot wish that you were a judge without going to law school. Like, you just have to take the action. Whatever action it is, and law of attraction will assist you, and it will help you, and it will provide you opportunities. You know, like if you want to be a lawyer, okay, law of attraction can help you get admission into a law school, but it can't do law school for you. You have to do law school, right? Like, it's just not going to happen. If you want to be best-selling author, law of attraction might help you find the right publisher or the right agent, but it can't write the book for you. It can give you the great ideas, but it can't make you sit in the chair and type. Right? So there is no law of attraction without action. And when we're trying to attract things that our soul doesn't really, really, really care about, things that we're not really meant to do, it's just a lot harder and a lot more frustrating and a lot less productive than if we really tune into, what does my soul really care about? What do I really, really, really want on the deepest level? What did I come to this earth as a manifested human being to do? Right? When you get to the core of that, which is what I help my clients do, when you get to the core of that and then you begin to attract those things, then law of attraction can be incredibly powerful if you're willing to take the action.
That makes a lot of sense. That help you, Rhodey?
It sure did. Yes, it did. And I'm glad to hear you say that, because the action, you know, law of attraction action, because just reading the book, I was thinking that's the only thing I disagreed with you on. I thought you were just think it and it'll happen. I'm like, dang, she seems so smart. That you had to put some action with it.
That's really.
I am so
they're always
thrilled to talk to you, young lady. I'm so thrilled to talk to you, and I just have to tell you, so far my favorite quote in your book is, this is a quote from you, Tracee, shopping well poor is one of my superpowers.
What is it?
I love it. I love it.
What was that, Rhodey? We missed that.
We missed it.
This is a quote from shopping well poor is one of my.
I missed that.
Shopping while poor is one of my superpowers, and it is. Shopping while poor is one of my superpowers.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for taking.
Law of attraction, right there. Right. Shopping while poor. Thank you, Rhodey.
Thank you, Rhodey, for calling in.
Thank you so much. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Rhodey, my favorite caller.
How fun is that? That was so fun.
Now, I had somebody call while Rhodey is on. I'm going to see if I can call them back, if they're there.
Okay.
This is another Tracee.
Tracee Stickler?
Yes.
Ah, I love her.
I'm trying to call her now. If she's still there.
That's some funky sounds.
That's a Skype.
It's Tracee. Hey, Miss Tracee.
Hey, Tracee.
It's the two Tracees.
It's
This
Tracee and
is
Tracee.
so fun. And I am here with Miss Patty Stickler.
Hello, Patty.
So we've loved this show. Thank you so much, and thank you, Jason, for hosting Tracee. I absolutely loved your book, Tracee, and I was actually just discussing with a girlfriend today, curious about if you can expand on your ideas of self-sabotage.
Oh. Self-sabotage.
Right?
Do you have a more specific question about it, or?
Well, you know, she was saying, I just keep processing, like, I know what I need to do. I know how creative I can be. I have all these awesome ideas, but then I fall back into
old habits, and I'll like grab a glass of wine, or I won't do what I know I need to do in order to create this awesomeness.
All right. So I find that the ego is incredibly good at keeping us in the box where it thinks that we're safe. Now, the ego always believes that same is safe. So whatever you're doing, it doesn't really matter, even if it's the most self-destructive thing ever, like smoking or drinking or slamming heroin. It does not matter. The ego does not care. As long as you don't change, the ego is safe. Because it confuses, every single time it confuses same with safe. And then it has some really, really, really great tricks in our culture that it uses to keep us sane. So 3 of the most common and powerful are, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money, and I'm not good enough, right? So my art's not awesome enough, or I don't have the right credentials. Excuse me for 1 second, I have children.
Me too. I understand.
Out. No.
That's pet sabotage.
No. So the ego will use, and I most frequently see this everywhere, is I am so busy, I don't have enough time. And it will suck us dry with this activity and that activity and this chore and that chore and driving your kids around and whatever it is you're spending your time doing. If the ego can keep you busy enough, you're never going to do your soul's purpose because it will just maintain it as not a priority. So whenever I hear people say, oh, I'll do that when I have enough time, I just want to roll my eyes. In fact, I often do roll my eyes because you're never going to get enough time. You are the master of your time. You decide what happens with your time. If your time is spent doing things you don't really care about that are not your soul's purpose, that's on you because you get to be the boss of your time. And it's totally, totally possible to be the boss of your time so that you have time to do what you really want to do if you make it a priority. If it's your true value, you're going to make it a priority. The other thing I see, go ahead.
Oh, the thing is, right now, like, both she and I have plenty of time on our plates, and it's just funny when you catch yourself thinking, oh, but I need to empty the dishwasher, or oh, but I need to wash my clothes, and it just feels like the ego's trying to find ways to not have to face the fear of, oh my gosh, I have to sit down and actually think and create something, even though it's all up in my head, but it's like trying to stop me from actually having to do the work.
Yeah, it's totally legit, and it happens to everyone.
Self-sabotage is my kung fu, and it is strong.
It is strong. It is strong, and distraction is a huge thing. And, you know, you're lucky that it's only washing your clothes and doing the dishes, because I know a lot of people who just create a bunch of drama in their families or in their workplaces to avoid doing it, which, you know, is way worse because then they're damaging their personal relationships. But, yeah, I have cleaned a heck of a lot of house trying not to sit down and do something I didn't want to do, like make a sales call or write a program or whatever it is that I have to do that day that I know I should be doing. Yeah, and you just kind of have to make it a discipline and a habit. Like, I think habit is 99% of it, because once you have a habit in place, it's so automatic that you can't get distracted, right? So if on Mondays you don't see clients and you only do admin, it becomes so normal and regular for you that that's just what you do, right? So Mondays are my admin day. At 12:15, I go to kickboxing. I have been doing this for 5 years, right? I sit down in the morning, I answer my email, I make sure that everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. I, you know, line up whatever I have to do for the week. I check my schedule. You know, I do all the admin stuff to run my business. I get up, I go to kickboxing. This is all I do on Mondays. Whenever somebody says, hey, can we meet on Mondays? Can we do whatever? No, we can't, because it will throw me off for the whole entire week, because this is a habit, right? I cannot change. There can be no flexibility with Mondays, or else I'll miss kickboxing, and then I'm screwed for the whole week, right? It can't happen.
Yeah, and I
So
think she and I need to start getting used to habit, because it's almost like when you feel like you're, oh, I'm this creative person, and I like structure is so like for me, but structure is actually what helps creative people get things done, because if we don't, we end up not accomplishing what we really wanted to.
did you read that part of my book where I call BS on that?
Yeah, probably. I'm sure my my creative brain went, wait, let's black that out.
No, let's not listen to that. Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm so creative and I don't like structure is a huge self-sabotage for creative people, right? It's a huge self-sabotage. It's just basically saying I'm not going to do any work because I just want to sit here, stare in his face, and draw pictures. No!
Yeah.
No! If you are a creative person, the creative genius comes to you when you tell it to. And you can tell it to come between 1 and 3, or you can tell it to come between 7 and 10. But if you actually honor that and keep that, it will do that for you, and you can still wash your dishes after. Like, it is nonsense that you don't like structure, because here's what the ego loves. Same. The ego loves same. It craves it. It thinks it's so amazing. So as you break out of your box, as you say, nope, ego, I'm leaving this box, what you want to do is create as much same as possible for your ego so it doesn't freak out. You want to say, okay, between 7 and 10 on Mondays, here's what I do. Between 2 and 5 on Tuesdays, here's what I do. Because if you keep that kind of structure, it becomes the same for the ego, and then the ego is calm. And it allows you to be creative and allows you to step into these things without you having a total nervous breakdown or getting really wasted on wine.
Yeah.
That's usually where it ends.
Yeah. Thanks for reading my mind.
Does that help, Tracee?
Yes. Thank you so much, love.
I love you.
I'm gonna tell my soul sister that dang it, we have to be creatures of structure now.
You do. And actually, Tracee, you'll find that it feels so good. Like, it just does. It feels so good because your ego calms down. On Mondays, I am never stressed. It's my favorite day of the week. It's my most productive day of the week because I have a structure around it that I've had for 5 years, and my ego is so calm. So calm.
Mm-hmm. See, I work retail, and retail, yeah, laugh. Yeah. I know, but my schedule's all over the place.
That would be very difficult for me. Yeah, very difficult.
It's definitely destroyed my creativeness, I'd say, over the years. It's just slowly beat it down because it's hard for me to find that structure. It's really hard to find that kind of, I'm going to do this because this day, this week, I'm working this shift, but next week I could be off. I don't know. My schedule's all over the place. I don't have a 9-to-5 job. I have a job that's late one night and up early the next day. I had just this beginning of the week. I hate Mondays because, Monday I'm up till 10, 11 o'clock at night working, get home, and I had to be back at 6 a.m. So it's like.
And then you got to deal with the humans.
Yes, I got one for Tracee.
Yeah. But one of the reasons I love retail, and the reason I love doing this show is that, there's a lot of people that can piss me off at my job. But there are. I mean, of course, I could go all night long crapping about, people that come in and say the stupidest things in the world. But one thing I do like is meeting new people. I meet new people every day that come into my store. And that's why I like doing this show. I get to meet new people doing this so much. It's great. I am a sociable person. I like to meet people, and not at bars. I'm not a drinker. So it's one of the things I've always enjoyed about I like to talk to people. Sometimes I wish I was drinking on the job, but but at the same time, the job kills me in the fact that I have the schedule that's all over the place, and
I think that is so hard as a creative person, is to have a schedule that's all over the place. If you can find 1 hour a day when you're definitely not working after the store's closed, or my preference is always in the morning because a lot of crap can happen during the day that will distract you by afternoon or evening. Then, just maybe make that sacred space. But you've made this sacred space. Sunday nights, this is what you do.
Yep, and that's like I tell my friends that want me to come on their streams, which I do sometimes. My friend Bill has a Pumpkinhead Paranormal stream he does, and my friend Rob from Weird Wednesdays, they do it. People are like, "Where's Jason?" Because I've gone on a couple times. Jason has a limit set by his wife. It's Sunday nights. And that's what I get to do because she doesn't want me spending all my time downstairs away from the family doing that. And I don't either, you know. My kids are only going to be babies for so long. So
It's legit.
Even though this is my passion, it's not. I always joke about my wife setting the limits, but it's me. I really do. I don't let myself get sucked into doing it. Even though if I was a single guy and I was living by myself, I would probably be online on everybody's shows. Probably people would be sick of me.
Well,
I got a question for Tracee.
Okay.
How far ahead do you think the muse or the inner voice will intervene or give you these messages?
Oh, I know some people who have been pestered by the inner voice and the muses for years before they take action.
There's a reason I ask, and I guess I'm in a more of a, I guess you could call it creative field. And I'll try to make a long story super short.
Okay.
My photo studio got hit by a garbage truck.
Oh, yeah.
And the building is questionable on structurally sound. And since it's happened, we've been involved in legal battles and stuff like that. And every time I'm going to go to a studio, we're going to finish things, we're going to get something done, we're just going to open and say the hell with it and go from there. That inner voice in the back of my head says, and it's going to fall on you. And now we just find out, this one Jason doesn't even know, that they're now going to barricade off the alley between my building because they think that the earth under it has been washed away from a hole in the sewer system caused by the phone company drilling through a water pipe.
Man.
Which, if it goes, my building's gone. And we just found this out a few days ago, and it's one of those, well, was that warning? Was that the inner voice saying it's way, or what was that?
Yeah, I probably wouldn't go back to work there. Do you own the building or rent it?
Yeah, no, I own it.
Okay, so maybe get some insurance dough and start somewhere else?
Well, if it falls down, we'll be getting insurance money, but it's a historic, kind of important building to the city.
It's a beautiful building.
Okay, so maybe do a Kickstarter campaign or go to the city council and say, this is a historic building. You guys drilled under my building and ruined it. Fix it.
Oh, if you knew our city council and getting that, it's reactive. After it falls down, they'll put up a barricade.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would say that the voice that you're getting is probably legit. Don't go in there; it'll fall down on you. So you're going to have to get creative about what solution you're going to go for. You can do outside photography while it's summer and fall. I don't know. But I would not ignore a voice that says a building's going to fall on your head or on your client's head.
Half the engineers. The other half says it's okay.
Well, but I would go with that voice in your head. You could do some energy work or some tapping to figure out if that's your ego or your soul's voice. But I wouldn't ignore it.
Okay, well, I just wanted to bounce that one off you. I've been sitting here trying to keep my mouth shut and not interrupt, but
why don't you?
I'm glad you asked.
Why don't you do some intentional sleeping on it tonight?
Because I won't sleep if I do.
You don't sleep?
Oh, if that stays and rattling around in my head, I'll watch the sun come up.
No. Don't put it in your head. Just
let it go.
Just say this. Just say, hey, angels, guides, soul, whoever, God, I need to know what to do about my photography business. Can you please let me know by morning? And then just go to sleep. Don't think about it.
Let it go is what I say. That's how.
Yeah,
if you start thinking, Jason, I swear to God.
Don't start thinking about it. Just ask for some assistance while you're sleeping and then go to sleep.
I will do that.
And then let us know what happened.
By the way, Tracee's she thinks her battery died, so we lost her just a little bit ago. But I want to thank her so much for calling in. She didn't get to say goodbye.
Bye, Tracee.
Well, thank you so much, Tracee, for coming on the show. Everything you said tonight really, rang true. I think everybody in the chat room I was watching, it really rang true with people. It's all. I think it's all everyday experiences people are feeling. They know it's the truth. It's just doing it. It's just getting to that point to listen to that voice. It's like when you go to your doctor and he tells you the stuff you need to do to be healthy that you're not doing, you're like, yeah, I know, you know. I think that's what people are hearing because they know it's the truth. They know it's the truth what you're saying. It's just getting there. So for people to buy your books, where do they go? How do they find your books for one?
Amazon.com. You can Google my name. It's Tracee Sioux, TraceeSioux.com is my website. And then on Amazon, you can just Google Year of Yes or Soul versus Ego Smackdown. And I've got, a few books on there, several books on there, and you'll find them. And I am also on Facebook. I'd love to friend you up.
Do you do most of your contacts for, if people wanted a personal coaching from you, do you do that mainly through contacts through Facebook?
They can contact me through Facebook, or they can contact me on my website.
What's your website?
Or they can email me at yes@TraceeSioux.com. My website's TraceeSioux.com.
That's pretty easy to remember.
2 E's with an SIOUX.
Yeah. Some of my listeners, when they find out who I'm having as guests, like Rhodey, they go out right away and they already got the book. Judy and Rhodey do that. So
that's fantastic. I love it.
But some of them after the show are definitely, I think, going to be hitting you up because I definitely saw a lot of people agreeing with what you were saying tonight. And that, like I said, it's one of those truths deep down, but it's hard to get to. It's hard to get yourself to focus in and do it. I've known it. I felt that whole way listening tonight. It's like, I know these things. I've known these deep down. It's it's just it's that ego voice, the things that tell you, that kind of shut it up. It's like the angels on your shoulder, isn't it? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's what I think of. It's like the devil on one side and the angel on the other.
Well, it is like that. And I'll say this just sort of as a last word. Nobody does this alone, because the ego is really tricky and it is really powerful. And the reason you hire a coach or go see a healer or, have an accountability partner is that someone else from the outside can go, dude, that's ego. That's not even real. That's not even legit. Just, hold you accountable, push you up, hold you up, give you encouragement to do it, because that really does make all the difference in the world.
Well, thank you, Tracee. I definitely think we heard a lot of words of wisdom tonight from you, and I would love to have you on again.
I would love to.
It was real fun to have you on. Next week, we're going to have speaking of creativity, we're going to have a musician on. Ed Roman is his name. He travels the world, and he makes music when he does it. And you can find him at Ed Roman on YouTube. He should be on next week. I schedule these guys so far in advance. I always get nervous when I haven't talked to them before they get on the show. I'll book till November. But he should be on. I'm really excited to have him on. I really enjoy his music, and he's got a lot of ideas when it comes to UFOs, aliens, spiritualism, and stuff. So I think we can have a really good, fun conversation. Again, thank you, Tracee, for being on the show. Thank you to everybody in the chat room tonight. I have the best chat room on YouTube. I really believe that. You guys are great. And I will see you guys next Sunday, 10 p.m. to midnight. Same bat time, same bat channel. Everybody have a great night, and see you next Sunday.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thanks so much.
Only really
Well, is everybody going to listen to their inner soul now, or talk to them? That's inner voice. I know I've tried. I've told you guys about my paranormal experiences, that psychic experience I talked about tonight. That was an inner voice. I really believe the stuff she said. If any guests I've ever had, I think Tracee really nailed a lot of my just inner core beliefs tonight and stuff I know I need to do more of. Thank you guys again. Couldn't do this show without you. All the support I've gotten the last couple of weeks due to some paranormal drama in the field, I really appreciate it. Thank you guys. See you next week with Ed Roman, 10 p.m. to midnight Central Time. Same bad time, same bad channel. See you guys then. Have a great night.